Andrew Johns on the Sunday Footy Show and showing his true emotion, as you always do, Andrew, hard on the sleeve and saying what a lot of people are thinking out there. And then later on that afternoon, Tigers and the Sharks, I know you'd had enough by a final quarter to go.
Yeah, at the end of the day, look, I played the game and I work in the game, but I'm still a fan. And I sat at home watching this Saturday night and watching this farce, as I called it. And it's not the game I fell in love with and still in love with. It was a foreign game the last 2 weeks. Didn't resemble rugby league, so I thought I had to say what I thought, and I'm glad there's some reaction.
Yeah, there certainly is, and I can tell you right now, the NRL CEO, Andrew Abdo, does join us here on 100% Footy. Andrew, really appreciate your time tonight. I've got to ask first up, what is the league doing about this situation? What can be done?
Sure, James. First of all, let me just say what a great intro. The Brisbane looks fantastic, the backdrop looks magnificent, and the panel looks in fine form as well. It's going to be a massive week for us. Thank you for having me. Yeah, look, obviously we were disappointed with the talking point being around sin bins and around head-hard tackles. That's not what we want to see, and there were far too many sin bins for our liking. It's a complicated matter because we've seen a rapid increase in the number of head-hard tackles this season, and more so with some clubs than others, and more so with some players than others. And obviously we've seen some frustration from the fans, and you heard Joey voice his frustration there, which we completely understand and we get, and we're not tone deaf to that. And I acknowledge that there were some errors this weekend, errors in the application, and there were some sin bins that shouldn't have been sin bins, and perhaps there were a couple that, probably should have been sin bins. So we need to get that right, and we will work on that, and that feedback will go back to the referees. And certainly the point around the bunker intervention, I think we've heard that loud and clear. That is actually meant for really serious or significant foul play, and I think that bar has been too low, and you'll see that adjusted going forwards.
So Andrew, you're saying at the moment this is a line in the sand. The overreach of the bunker will stop from now on in general play?
Yeah, so Andrew, the truth is the policy has been pretty consistent. The Commission have been pretty consistent with this for the last couple of years, and the bunker is not meant to intervene unless it's serious or significant matters of foul play, and so that is going to be reinforced in the communication going forward. So we don't want to see a couple of tackles later pulled back for something that we don't believe is a sin bin. It's got to be pretty significant, pretty serious.
Andrew, I believe that so many people love this game because of the gladiatorial nature of it, and I've got to be honest, I think it's somewhat we are going away from that a little bit with some of this head-eye contact. Now, have you ever thought about getting former players in a room, current players in a room, people that actually know the game inside out, and getting their input on all of this?
Yeah, absolutely, Gal. I mean, we at the end of every season review what's working, what's not working, and respect the views of people that have played the game and all stakeholders. You've got to listen to everyone, and then you've got to make a call and ultimately that's what the Commission does in the overall best interest of the game. And of course we'll continue to do that, we'll continue to listen and think. But I will say this, we're not going to take a backward step from player safety. I think we all agree on this. And it's important that the policy around protecting players from direct, high impact, significant force with no mitigation, those are going to continue to be penalised, and those will continue to be sin bin. Unfortunately, we've seen a few instances where that wasn't the case, and we're going to rectify that.
Well, that's the thing, Andrew. No one wants to see direct contact to the head, and no one ever goes out there intentionally to do it. But in this high-speed sport, high-collision sport, accidents happen. And accidents happen often. And why should every single one of them be sent to the sin bin?
Because, Gal, the important thing here is the risk of injury to the player. Not whether or not they get an injury, but what is that action in terms of the risk of the injury. Listen, for decades, it's been illegal to hit players in the head and to have high tackles. And we've been sin binning and sending players off for decades. What we're trying to get right now is refining what that bar is and getting that balance right. And what we're seeing is some players adapting their game very effectively. You know, some of the teams have not had a single sin bin for a head-hard shot this season in 8 rounds. We've had some teams only give away 3 penalties for head-hard tackles, some teams as high as 19. And it shows that some are able to adapt to this and understand the standards that's expected. But this is not all on the players and the clubs. The referees too have to play their part, and we have to play our part. So this is a team effort that's required in order to get something that we all want, where we're not talking about this, where we're not talking about match officials or sin bins, and we're enjoying the football. And let me say, there's been some unbelievable football this season.
Andrew, was there a directive or instructions given to the officials or referees at the start of this season to crack down on high contact, or go a little bit harder, or look for these high contact tackles?
Definitely, Cam, definitely not to look for things, and no directive or policy. It's been pretty consistent the last couple of years. At the end of every round, we review every match, we review every incident, and we look to provide feedback and hopefully try and see a little bit more what everyone is searching for, which is almost impossible to get in professional sport. Consistency, because every tackle is different. So obviously we'll continue to refine that, and we've given feedback this round like the other rounds, but there's been no policy change and no directive, and certainly we're not encouraging them to look for things, but obviously we want them to look at things like mitigation. Mitigation is critical in assessing whether or not it is a sin bin. Sometimes there are circumstances which obviously just need a penalty as opposed to a sin bin, and we'll continue to support them in trying to get that balance right.
Andrew, you mentioned the word force before, and it's something that pops up every time there is a head-high tackle or one that's close to it. How do you determine what is force and what type of force it is?
It's a good question, James. Ultimately it comes down to professional judgment. It's part science and part art, and someone is making a call. But the referees have indicators that they look for to help them assist them with that level of force. And obviously for a sin bin, we're looking for some significant force. Things like the speed of the player, things like the head movement, whiplash, and whether or not a player is lunging forward with both feet. So those are some of the indicators which could lead to there being a sufficient level of force that warrants a sin bin. And that's one of the areas that I think we need to get right.
So it's as simple as saying that the governing body and the referees just want the players to lower their target in tackling?
Well, I think it's not as simple as that, because we know that tackle technique is complicated and there are different ways of defending in different situations, of course. But obviously we want the duty of care there. We want the ability to avoid direct, forceful contact to the head wherever possible.
Andrew, do you think with this crackdown, let's just call it a crackdown for the moment, are you a little bit concerned about the look of? Are you a little bit concerned for the look of our game at the moment, with players staying down looking for penalties when they're brushed slightly across the face? Seen an example on the weekend where Ronaldo Mulitalo yesterday afternoon playing against the Tigers was running the ball out of his own in goal, very innocuous touch of his face, and the Sharks actually challenged to look for a penalty for high contact. Does that concern you a little bit?
Of course it does, Cam. We don't want to see that. We don't want to see a situation where we set up to fail and we're encouraging players to more penalties. That's the last thing that we want. I think some of the decisions the referees have made despite that have been phenomenal, and they deserve credit for that, because it is difficult in those situations. And that's where I'll go back to, everyone has a role to play here. The players have a role to play. The match officials, the governing body has a role to play. We need to work together and make sure that we're talking about an entertaining spectacle, and we're making it as safe as possible. And we certainly don't want to encourage players milking it or looking for slight contact to the head. And that's where I think some of our directives around exactly what level of force is will assist in this going forward. And I think too, by lifting the bar around when the bunker intervenes and making sure that it's only significant or very serious acts of foul play will go a long way to help with that.
Andrew, appreciate your time tonight. Looking forward to catching up. Women's Origin Thursday night up here, and of course, what should be a memorable Magic round.
Great to chat to you. Thanks for having me. And again, Brisbane looks fantastic. It's going to be a wonderful week. Women's State of Origin on Thursday night, and then 3 days of NRL football. We can't wait to get up there and see you guys all in person. Enjoy a wonderful festival with all our fans all gathered in one place. Thanks for having me.
Good on you, Andrew. It's buzzing up here, I can tell you that much. Andrew, loved having you on the program. I know you've got a big show to come later. You've got to prepare for that.
Yes,
sure. Are you happy with what you heard there?
Oh, well, the proof's in the pudding. Let's see how Magic round goes. As long as the bunker just stays out of general play, I'll be happy with that. Let the referee on the field and the two touch judges officiate with some confidence. And if a high shot is obvious, blow the penalty. If no one can see it, just play on. Just let the bunker out of play.
Gus, do you think we'll see it rectified by the weekend?
Well, Andrew Abdo admitted there that we've had laws about height contact for the last 4 or 5 decades. It's been in the game ever since I've been. And every measure they've used, which is penalties, sin bins, suspensions, we've still got it. Here we are today. My questions are, why did it escalate to the way it did on the weekend? Why did they suddenly go rogue beyond what the NRL would have anticipated? And secondly, what's the end game? What do they think they're going to do? Eventually eliminate all head contact in rugby league? It's not going to happen. This is a professional football code. It's a combative sport. It's a competition. This is not junior league. This is not park football. This is professional football played by professional athletes who train for these situations 6 days a week, 10 months a year, for their whole career, and want to be out there doing this. That's what they want to do. And what we do is we just get an overreach from referees, bunker, independent doctors, and judiciary and match review committees. The suspensions are too big, the fines are too much, and we just overkill. And do you think it's solving the problem? No, not at all.
Well, fingers crossed, all gets rectified.
I've listened to that. I've listened to that for 50 years. I'm getting old. I've listened to that for 50 years.
You're looking good, Gus.
Well, you're still looking good. You heard it.
Well, my eyes are open today.
Hashtag new profile pic. Good on you, Gus.